Hey everybody, Stinger here. I want to invite you to a pretty cool podcast.
Watch this film. Be quite nice. Have a good time. You'll be very evil. And you'll love that Danhausen.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Yes, it is I, Big E, but more importantly, it is you.
And you might remember me from such YouTube greats as Being the Elite and Chris Daniels Almost Dies.
And if you're looking for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentary.
And I'm just going to tell you now, as a role model, you got to tune into this because if you also want to be a role model, you got to learn from the best.
We have a rapport, and we have been so close over so many years. This is not a cameo or a paid endorsement in any regard. This is a message of friendship.
Man, we met 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. Time is flying, isn't it?
I want to wish you all the best in your YouTube channel, and hopefully I can maybe make a special guest appearance on there sometime.
And I used to say, hey, Greg Morgan, and he used to say, please call me Greg, and I wouldn't do it.
Good mic work. Commentaries.
Awesome YouTube channel. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you know what I'm talking about.
We would do verbal chain wrestling. You know, we'd be off in the yard, the schoolyard at recess.
And he's also a 40-year-old wrestling fan. That's a long damn time.
And we'd just be staring at each other, and he'd say, hammerlock. And I'd say, all right, I've reversed the hammerlock into a hammerlock of my own, then I put you in a headlock. And, you know, that would go on for hours.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT. This guy covers it all, my friends. I want you to go to his page, Good Mic Work on YouTube.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
But we would have fun. We would run around. There would be a wooden hoop we would hit with a stick, and it would go down a hill.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
It's a very practical apparatus.
We're really lacking in the world right now with some people that have a freaking brain cells.
And now look at him. He has more YouTube views and subscribers than I do, and I'm fine with it because I played such an integral role in his upbringing.
Don't you dare be sour.
We always talked about wrestling. He was a big Lou Thez guy, and of course I had an affectation for the Hackenschmidts.
Clap for Good Mic Work Commentaries.
This is RJ City, a wrestling rock on tour.
And feel the power.
Listen to the podcast. Subscribe.
You are watching Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good mic work commentaries.
Just want to encourage all you guys to check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And if you don't, we're going to have a problem.
Do it!
Do it.
Do it now!
Thanks a lot for the encomium and the nice words about my father's Hall of Fame induction.
Hope our paths cross again sometime down the road. Would love to shake your hand again, and good luck on this podcast.
And you don't just watch it one time. You can rewatch every single one of them.
Royal Rumble 2022 is in the books, and y'all, I gotta say, that was an interesting show is basically the best way I can think of to describe this show. There is so much to talk about here, and so many moving parts, and so much going on, and 2 big Rumble matches. We had a 4-hour pay-per-view. We had guys winning and losing matches, dropping titles. This pay-per-view was all over the place. We had signs catching on fire and sections of the audience being evacuated. It was nuts. It was about a 4-hour show, a little bit over 4 hours. And I got to say, it was a lot of fun. I think we're going to have a few complaints and some critiques of this show, but I think overall it was, it was disappointing and kind of underwhelming at times, but there were other points when it really felt good to have like a big crowd back at a Big Four pay-per-view and it have that SummerSlam vibe from last year. And Royal Rumbles are always fun. They're a bitch to make notes for, but they are always a trip, and you never know what to expect, and it really kind of sets the table, so to speak, for WrestleMania, even though we've got Crown Jewel coming up ahead of that. And tonight we saw the return of Ronda Rousey. We saw Brock dropping the title, coming back to win the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns screws over Brock and realigns himself with Paul Heyman. Probably the original angle they likely had planned for day one, I would think most likely, and they just did it here so they can kind of get back on track to what their original plan was for WrestleMania. And I think that paints a pretty clear picture now with what happened to Brock in his championship match with Bobby Lashley and what he did in the Royal Rumble. We signed off the Rumble tonight with Michael Cole saying, who will Brock choose to face at WrestleMania? I'm like, who you think he's going to choose? Michael Cole. It seems pretty obvious to me that he is pissed off and he's going to be targeting Roman Reigns. So they got a bit off track there with the Roman COVID at day one, but they seemed like they rectified it here. I still think the Heyman and Roman turn would have been better to happen in a Brock and Roman match, but you know, it didn't happen because of day one. So really the only way to do it was the way they did it here, which, you know, pretty much makes sense when you look at the layout of the matches and how they were all placed throughout the card. But it at least sets up that for WrestleMania, and it probably also sets up Becky and Ronda Rousey. So we're starting to get an idea of what WrestleMania might look like, but we still have a lot of unanswered questions. And, you know, I want to hear from all of you and get your feedback, what you thought of all this. I think a lot of people, knowing the fans, are probably going to complain about Brock, you know, winning the Rumble, being overused and predictable and all that. We're going to hear all those complaints. But, you know, you also have to take into consideration what they probably were going to do at day one. What we saw here tonight probably wasn't the original plan. But if they want to keep their Mania plans intact, WWE doesn't do a whole lot of long-term booking, so if they have something written down, we should let them follow through with it. So if they want to maintain those Mania plans, the only way to do that is to kind of fix what you missed at day one and do it here at the Rumble instead. That's the way it felt like to me. But the Rumble matches, I thought both were interesting, the men's and the women's, and the title matches were both really interesting. We finally got that dream match between Lashley and Brock. Maybe didn't live up to quite my expectation, but the outcome was. And I was saying all along prior to this match that based on the build, you know, I feel like WWE's not going to, you know, get a whole lot out of a Brock victory, just F5ing and pinning Lashley right in the middle. It kind of undoes all the hard work you've done with Lashley, with all of the stuff with Roman and Brock. If you pull some shenanigans and have Lashley steal the title from him with some help, this is what we talked about, this exact same scenario, I think that would be much better to give Lashley that win against Brock, because it's not going to do anything to affect Brock. You know, if Brock would have F5'd and pinned Bobby Lashley the way he did to Samoa Joe at Great Balls of Fire, or he did to Braun Strowman, or anybody else they just sacrificed to Roman Reigns, had they done that, Bobby would have been, you know, knocked down a peg. But when you reverse it and you give Lashley the victory, look at Brock. He won the Rumble. He's going right into the main event of WrestleMania anyway. So it benefited everybody for Lashley to win. So I was really happy to see that. And the very first encounter ever between these two guys goes to Bobby Lashley. That's kind of interesting. So I kind of like the balancing act that they did here. I love the stuff with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins in the opener. The Universal title match actually opened the show tonight, so that kind of gave you an indication that we were probably going to see more of Roman before the night was done, and possibly even more of Brock as well, and Seth coming out to the Shield stuff and the story they told in the ring. I'm sure we're going to talk about this when we get to this match. We start rolling through the results here, but I had no issue whatsoever with the disqualification. I think fans are just generally programmed to automatically reject a disqualification because that's just what they do. But when you think about it, DQs are not terrible when they're done right or when they're done to further a story. And, you know, there was some storytelling going on in that ring with Seth and Roman and all of their history. And then even the end, Roman and the guillotine and Seth getting his hand on the rope and Roman snapping and going nuts. You know, all of that is part of that storyline that they're sewing together here. And I loved that. Fuck the DQ. Who cares about the DQ? I thought it made for a great match and, you know, a great kind of in-ring story to be told there. And who knows where that's going to leave Seth Rollins now, obviously maybe going back to Raw. And because of how he got screwed against Roman, maybe he'll be the one to challenge Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania for the title. So we have a lot, obviously, to kind of talk about, speculate here. We're going to run through the results of the entire card. I'll give my thoughts on it. I'll get feedback from you guys. We'll look ahead to what we might see on Monday, what we might see at Crown Jewel coming up, and then, of course, WrestleMania in just a couple of months. We are starting to get it together in our heads a little bit about what possibly to expect. So shit ton to get into tonight. If you don't mind, before we even get started, please smash the thumbs up button for me. I would appreciate it. If you are not subscribed, please do so. I want to say hi to people in the chat, knock out some super chats first, and then we will get into the results of this show, because I think we could be talking forever, in terms of what we might be, what we could see in the future. So let me say hi to Rodrigo and Trey from earlier on. Divine Ricks is in early with a $5 drop. Thank you for that earlier on. If we are getting Ronda Rousey versus Becky at WrestleMania, I wonder what plans WWE would have for Bianca Belair. I don't know. I kind of thought when Rousey came back tonight, the way they were playing up the Charlotte stuff, I'm like, maybe we're going to do Ronda and Charlotte again and hold off on the Becky stuff so Becky and Bianca can pay off their deal. But by the time the match was over, I was feeling like it's probably going to be Becky who Ronda is going to challenge, which makes you wonder what now for Bianca Belair. I am so bummed out that they are derailing that, because I felt like they set that up at SummerSlam for Bianca to beat Becky at WrestleMania. That ain't happening now with Ronda coming back. I was kind of hoping that what they would do is maybe have Naomi win the Royal Rumble and then have Becky successfully retain over Doudrop, obviously. After that match is when Ronda returns, comes out, confronts Becky Lynch, and just straight up challenges her to a match at Crown Jewel. And you get Becky and Ronda one-on-one at Crown Jewel instead of WrestleMania. Then you do whatever outcome you do there, and then the next month at WrestleMania, you do the three-way. You do Bianca, Becky, and Ronda for the title, and you give Bianca the title again. That way you still get Ronda and Becky, and you can still not fuck over Bianca, but they gave Ronda the Rumble victory. And if she was going to be in the Rumble, she needed to win the Rumble. You can't dump her out. So I was kind of hoping she wouldn't be in the Rumble at all and just come out after Becky's match and challenge her. But she's now going to be going to WrestleMania. She will choose her challenger. There was talk this week during her return that she's going to be a SmackDown star, but Becky's on Raw, so not sure how that's going to work out. Brand split doesn't mean dick anyway, but we'll have to monitor that. But thank you for that, Divine. 5 more from you later on. Very predictable show. The crowd was somewhat disappointed with the finish, especially after Brock tossed Randy out. You could feel it. I kind of wish they would have done it some other way with Brock, maybe even having the Rumble earlier, but then you'd have to have something completely different as the main event. So I guess it went down the way it had to go down. They did telegraph that, though, I will admit. Brock coming out seemed kind of obvious. I was still holding out hope for Kevin Owens, because I felt like after what happened to Brock, you could probably still get to Brock and Roman at WrestleMania without using the Rumble to do it. But I think WWE's trying to make it to where the winner of the Rumble main events WrestleMania. It's not really been a rule, but it seems like something they're trying to do lately. So if that's the new deal, then, maybe Brock had to win it because of that. I don't know. But you had a feeling, too, when Drew came out, when McIntyre made his surprise return tonight. I put on Twitter right away, I'm like, Brock and Drew, final 2, payback from a couple of years ago when Drew got the best of Brock. So I kind of even saw that coming from a mile away. So yeah, somewhat predictable in some of it, that's for sure. Chaz and Zane, good to see you as well. Stone Cold 10X, appreciate the $2. Begs the question, who will challenge Bobby? Yeah, I think it's going to be Seth or Kevin Owens, or maybe you do some sort of a triple threat. We got a triple threat last year, so maybe they do another one on night 1 for Lashley. And the question now is, does Lashley continue on like a strong run, or is he just holding the title to pass it over to somebody else at WrestleMania? That could be it too. So I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. You guys can probably give me some good ideas as we go through here. Paul Carpenter, Zane G. Barry, good to see you. And Reese Jones is in the house. What's up, man? Reese is going to be sponsoring a video pretty soon for WrestleMania season that we are working on. Chaz is in the house as well. JJ Leg. Richard, I'm probably going to miss a lot of people's Population 420. Good to see you back, man. And Ryan Martin, JJ, Janine, Lil Justin, Joshua, Denny, Marvin. Any more supers coming in that I missed? Joshua, there we go. Thank you for that $5, dude. What up, Greg? Bad Bunny was at the Rumble. Rumble was a 10 out of 10. Also, Danhausen is so evil. Yes, he does. Or yes, he is. Bad Bunny was kind of predictable. There were some rumors that he would turn up, and I had no problem with that because I don't know anything about Bad Bunny's music, but he impressed the hell out of me and handled himself marvelously in his whole run last year. And for him to come in and get a spot at the Rumble, of course, he had a great performance at WrestleMania, and I'm fine with it. I had no issue with it at all. Not sure if I'd grade Rumble 10 out of 10, but the Bad Bunny was, I took no issue with it at all. Colin. We got a lot of other guys in here as well. No Bailey tonight, as Barry is saying. He's very disappointed about that. I'm sorry. I think it's a bit early for Bailey and her injury to be coming back anyway, but was kind of hoping we would see her. Stone Cold 10X, appreciate the $5. Women's Rumble gets 5 stars from me for Ivory bringing back the right to censor gimmick. How great did Ivory look? She hasn't aged a day. She came out in that right to censor gear and that music, and I'm glad modern wrestling fans got to experience that music tonight, because let me tell you, I used to go to a shit ton of shows back during the Attitude Era and the early 2000s when the right to censor was on TV a lot, and I heard that theme so many times in person, and it was ear piercing. So I'm glad that the fans of today got to experience that nonsense. Devlin thinks the show sucked. Al Slavinsky, Doudrop got screwed. She wasn't going to be winning. I think they made a mistake there with the Doudrop and Becky match because they did it after the Royal Rumble. I mean, if Ronda is in the Rumble and she comes in and wins it, that kind of gives away the ending of Doudrop and Becky. Not that anyone really thought Doudrop would win the title, but I would have done that number 2. I would have done that after Roman and Seth. Gotten Becky and Doudrop just out of the way, so Becky retains the title, goes to the back, and then Ronda comes out, wins the Rumble, and that kind of already sets the stage for you. But they didn't do that, so it made it even more predictable. So you are correct, very, very predictable in a lot of ways tonight. JCS 186, appreciate the $2 from you. Can't believe Ivory is 60. I know, right? She was in her 40s back in the day, it felt like. So yeah, she looks great for her age, and she was hilarious tonight. Loved to see it. Salvador, appreciate 5 from you. AEW Rampage was better than this pay-per-view. I could see. I didn't watch it last night, actually. I could see this show being enjoyable for low IQ. And Make-A-Wish kids, yo, that's harsh, man. Can't wait till Khan burns out WWE. That's a terrible, hateful comment, man. I appreciate the $5, but don't come in here with that shit. Give me a break, man. It's a wrestling show. Have some fun. Wrestling is supposed to be stupid, and wrestling fans aren't supposed to take it that seriously. Who's next? Is that everybody? I think that is everybody. Anyway, let me just read some of these other comments to see if you guys are telling me anything crazy. Bobby versus AJ Styles, I like it. No Booker T, I'm cool with that. Lita versus Charlotte, perhaps, although I'm thinking that I really thought Naomi should have won tonight. I kind of forgot about Naomi during my predictions, because if I would have remembered her, I probably would have predicted her, but she didn't win anyway. But I still think that maybe Charlotte and her working together at Mania and Charlotte putting her over would be a good way to give Naomi a better shot this time at a title run than maybe her first one was. So, but yeah, maybe Lita with Charlotte. They definitely teased that for sure. Good to see AJ. People are ripping this show to shreds. I have not seen much of it on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Fans are probably going to be crying and snotting all over themselves over this. I didn't hate it. Wasn't the best Rumble, and yeah, super predictable at times, but I don't know, I think I've seen worse. A lot of people think Sasha is leaving. I don't know why she keeps leaving and coming back over and over, but did you guys notice they ran some random video package for her tonight? Just right in the middle of the show, I guess just for a filler, but why her? It just seemed random. So anyway, I think that'll catch us up, at least for the pleasantries for right now, and we can start getting into this show. Again, please subscribe, thumbs up, all that good stuff, if you don't mind. And we got to start getting into it here. So we opened up the show tonight with the Universal Championship match. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. I think they must have announced this on social media just a couple of minutes before the show, because everybody was talking about it on Twitter. So we knew that this was going to open the show. And right away, that set off a lot of red flags for a lot of us, because you thought to yourself, man, we might be seeing Roman again. If they're opening with this and getting this out of the way, something's going to be up there. We had no kickoff match or anything like that, so it was just an hour of bullshit on the kickoff, so nothing to talk about there. And Universal title match opens up with Roman and Seth. Now, Roman hits the ring first. They kick his music off first, and he comes down there. He looked very strange coming down there all alone. No Heyman, no Usos, no nothing. And he's on his own here, and he's going to have to prove it and finally win a match by himself against a very game Seth Rollins. And oh my God, did Greg mark out when the Shield music hit and Seth Rollins donning the old Shield gear? started coming through the audience, making his entrance. Kind of like how Edge did the Brood shit at SummerSlam last year. Seth is coming down with a special entrance of his own in the old Shield gear. It was awesome. It made me think we might see an appearance by Jon Moxley for a second. But I got to tell you, this match was fun. This was my favorite match easily on the show, and it ended in a disqualification. Think about that. But what they did here just was Seth kicking things off in the Shield gear, and then the great start that they had. You know, they get in the ring, we do the announcements, little stare down, and they begin, and almost right off the bat, Seth gets the advantage on Roman Reigns. He gets him on the outside of the ring, gives him a Shield powerbomb through the table. Then he gets him back in the ring and hits him with a buckle bomb immediately into the stomp. They had me. I thought that was it. I thought Roman Reigns was about to get squashed right there in the middle of the ring in under a minute, or what felt like under a minute. And it was 2 9/10. And Roman's shoulder got up out of there at the last minute, and I was like, holy fuck, they had me. They completely convinced me that Roman's 500 plus whatever day run was ending then. He kicked out in the nick of time. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe he's not going to lose. That would have shocked the hell out of me. So the match continues, and Roman regains control. But what I liked about this is Seth Rollins is so good. It seems like he kind of had the blueprint for how to combat Reigns. He knows him the best. He knows how to get to him. He's gotten in his head the last few weeks on TV, and he's had many wars with him in the ring and won a couple of them clean. So, you know, this is a guy that's beat Roman and Brock Lesnar and every other top star in the company clean. He is a worthy opponent. So the fact that he had Roman so on the ropes was really interesting because Roman's been so dominant. But even when Roman had regained control on Seth and is pummeling him, Seth's laughing his ass off. He's just laughing. You know, just like, almost like in a disrespectful way, not taking Roman or anything that he's doing seriously. And you could see how that was getting to Roman, and it was kind of wearing at him as the match went on. Really cool spot where Roman goes for a spear and Seth counters with a pedigree. I think they've done that spot before, but it was pulled off to perfection. That was another near fall. So Roman had some really close calls in this match. So Roman would then recover. We get another spear to Seth Rollins, and he continues to laugh. So he was laughing, getting his ass kicked earlier. Now he eats a spear and laughs it off. Roman is boiling. It's starting to boil over with Seth. Finally, Roman just gets pissed, says, fuck it, grabs Seth, locks him hard in the guillotine and right in the middle of the ring. And Seth's got nowhere to go, but he fights it. He tries to crawl. He gets really close to the rope. He can't quite make it. He's out, but he's close to the rope. So Charles Robinson lifts up his hand to do the little test deal, and he lifts it up, and the hand comes down right on the rope. So Robinson wants Roman to break the hold. Roman feels like he won because Seth is out. His hand just landed on the rope, but that counts. So Charles starts counting, and Roman is like, I'm not letting go. So referee counts to 5, rings the bell, and fans kind of boo a little bit, but I don't really care. I'm like, ooh, this is kind of good. And Roman is keeping the guillotine on. He goes, he deserves this. He deserves this. And he's just squeezing Seth's head off. And he continues to do that forever until finally, I believe, releasing the hold. And then he goes out to the ring and grabs a steel chair and just beats the hell out of Seth Rollins with a steel chair several times, wears him out. It looks like Seth can't take any more. Finally, Roman lets up and starts walking away, only to come back and do it again and wear Seth Rollins out even more with a chair. The fans are booing him. They're pissed. They're hating this. I think Seth Rollins is going to be a babyface now next time we see him. And I think fans might like him a little bit better this time if he's going to be a babyface. It's going to be hard for this obnoxious motherfucker to be one with this current character, but I think he can because the fans are already starting to warm up to him a little bit in this persona and really kind of liking his work. And he was mostly playing the role of a tweener anyway in his build up here with Roman. So I think when Seth recovers and he returns to Raw or wherever he shows back up, he's probably going to be a babyface, and I think he could be a likely challenger for Bobby Lashley's title at WrestleMania, especially since he, you know, is probably going to feel unjustly cost of the title. Even he got a victory over Roman. You got to remember that. Technically, he won this match, and he's going to feel like he got screwed. But now Roman and Brock are set for Mania. So I suppose we could get the rematch. Actually, we will. How much you want to bet? We'll get Crown Jewel, Roman, Seth, 2. And then Roman might put him down for good and then go on to WrestleMania to face Brock. Or maybe Seth does something like win the Elimination Chamber. They are going to have chamber matches, or a match, I believe, at Crown Jewel. If one of those matches determines a challenger for WrestleMania, which it could, Seth could always win that. but they might also put one of the titles up in the chamber. So who knows what they're going to do, but Seth got his ass kicked tonight, but I thought it was a really well-told story. I mean, these guys go way back, even at the end when was it after the match? Was it after the guillotine when Seth got up? Is that what happened? I think he guillotined him to death, and then Seth finally like slowly recovers to his feet, and then Roman does the chair thing like when Seth did it to him when the Shield broke up. I think that was how it went, and that's when he started kicking his ass with a chair. So all the little things that they, all the little stories they told in this match I thought was a lot of fun, especially the end. And I thought it was really, really well pulled off, and it solidified Roman as an asshole, and it might have made a babyface out of Seth in the process. So I think it was great. So Roman Reigns still Universal Champion, although Seth picks up the victory via DQ. So that was that. Most fans were okay with it, but, like I said earlier, they're instinctively going to complain about a DQ because they don't think anything through before they say it. So I'm sure a lot of people hated the DQ, but when you really think about it, there's really nothing wrong with having a disqualification, and especially when it's done right, and if it's telling a story or setting up something in the future or helping develop character in some way. We're probably going to see some character development out of Seth as a result of this match, which makes the disqualification fine because that's what wrestling is. And they put this in the opening match, which means at least WWE had the sense to say, if we're going to give him a DQ, we better not make that shit in the main event. Now, if this match would have been in the main event, maybe it would have been a little bit more of a letdown. But, it was the opener, so you get over that shit quick, and we had a lot more road ahead of us throughout the night. So after the Universal title match, we got the Women's Royal Rumble match. So this was up next. Some fans thought this might be the main event. I said no, even with Rousey coming back, even if she did come back, I still don't think this match is worthy of a main event ahead of something like Brock and Lashley, who was on the same card. And plus the Men's Rumble, where you had a feeling something big was going to go down. And Rousey's return was kind of leaked. We've all known it. Nobody was really super shocked when she came out. Everybody, Meltzer and everybody's basically saying she's all but back. It's just a matter of when she shows her face. It could be the Rumble, could be Raw, whatever, but she's back. So her coming out was not that shocking and not really that jaw-dropping of a moment. And then again, neither was Brock Lesnar later on, because we all saw that coming. But the Rumble match kicks off with number 1 and 2. Number 1 is Sasha Banks. Now, Sasha returned to WWE on Friday. I kind of forgot she was even gone for a while. She's been so in and out in the last couple of years. I kind of lose track of what the hell Sasha's doing from day to day. So she's been out for a bit. She came back on SmackDown. A lot of fans felt like she should have returned at the Rumble instead. Since she came, I didn't really care. I was like, I don't really think that fucking matters. But since she came out at number 1, I do think they should have saved it for this, because her coming out at number 1 would have been kind of cool because nobody would have expected it. Number 2 was somebody that we did not expect, Melina. Oh, now she's back. She was rumored to come back, a year ago? And now that Morrison is gone, now they bring her back. She looked good. She did her entrance. She gets in the ring. And as the theme would be for these returning women, these returning legends coming in for this match, she would be eliminated in like 11 seconds. Like, what do you think Johnny Ace says to these women when he calls them? Hey, you want to fly to St. Louis and spend the whole weekend here and 4.5 hours and hair and makeup and get in the ring for 8 seconds? We'll pay you. I mean, I guess it's an easy paycheck. You literally don't have to do shit. But just coming, it was just the theme with all of them. We would see that with most everybody. Lita stayed in a little longer, a couple of others, but any of these legends, the Summer Raes, the Kelly Kellys, the Melinas, they were out the minute they got in the ring. And it was just ridiculous. And that's kind of been the theme with these women's rumbles. And a lot of these women that they bring back, they don't last very long. So this rumble, though, I think was maybe better than some of the other ones they had. Melina, like I said, is eliminated immediately. I did okay with some of these numbers here. We had Tamina. I was much better with the men's match. We had Tamina coming out at number 3. Kelly Kelly came out at number 4. She was another one that was immediately eliminated very quickly, so Kelly Kelly was in and out. After that, we get Aaliyah, Liv Morgan, Zelina as the next 3 out, and Zelina Vega eliminates Sasha Banks. So that was kind of a surprising elimination. Somebody had mentioned in the chat that there's been rumblings of maybe Sasha leaving the company. So don't know what's going on there, but I suppose it's possible. So she's gone pretty early. That was a surprise. We had Bianca Belair, my favorite, coming out at number 8, followed by Dana Brooke, followed by Michelle McCool, who gets in the ring and starts fighting Tamina Snuka. And I found that interesting because Michelle McCool's husband beat Tamina Snuka's dad at WrestleMania 7. Little known fact. I thought that was a cool interaction. Sonya Deville in her stupid jacket came out at number 11, so she's been doing the deal where she's so fucking idiotic. So if she's wearing the jacket, she's an authority figure. If the jacket's off, she's a wrestler. Booker T tonight on the kickoff panel made more sense than I've ever heard him make in his life when Sonya explained that rule and he looked at her and said, "That makes no sense, man." Because Booker T is right. That makes no fucking sense. She comes in at number 11, but she's wearing the jacket. So she decides to sit her ass down on commentary and just do commentary for the match for a little while. And she says she's going to get in the Rumble, but she's wearing the jacket, so she can't right now. After that, we get Natalya coming out, followed by Cameron. So Cameron was rumored to be in town. Cameron did work an AEW match like a year or so ago that got shit on, horrible reviews. She looked pretty good here, but she didn't stay in the ring very long. As soon as she got in there, that's when Sonya Deville decided, I'll get off commentary now and get in the match. And she does, and she eliminates Cameron. So Cameron is out. We never even got to see. What were they? The Funkettes or the Glow-a-Zons? What the fuck were they? Naomi and Cameron together? I forgot. But we never even got to see their reunion. Cameron's eliminated. Naomi comes out next, but she's pissed. She's walking with a purpose to the ring. She checks on Cameron first before she gets in there, and she finally goes right for Sonya and eliminates her pretty quickly. So Naomi tosses out Sonya, but I knew something was up. I was really, by this point, hoping that Naomi would win the Rumble. It would be Naomi and Charlotte, the final two. Naomi would win, go on to WrestleMania to beat Charlotte, but that would be kind of predictable, yes? So maybe that wasn't the best idea, but that's kind of what I was hoping by the time we got to this point in the match, because I was like, you can still have Ronda come out later and do Ronda and Becky without her having to be a part of the Rumble. I think Naomi could use it. I don't want to be that guy that thinks that every Rumble winner needs to not go to a big star, needs to go to somebody like Naomi. No, it can totally go to Ronda and Brock's. I don't give a shit. In this specific instance, though, I thought it might have been better for Naomi, but it sounds like WWE is really trying to set this rule up to where the winner's main event. Women's winner might main event night 1. Men's winner might main event night 2. That's going to try to be the formula that they're going to use, I guess. But I was really hoping for Naomi here. So unfortunately, she is going to be screwed later because Sonya does not leave after being eliminated. So we get Carmella out at number 15. Rhea Ripley comes out at number 16 and eliminates both tag team champions, Carmella and Zelina. We had the Queen hitting the ring at 16. I don't know if that was on purpose for her dad's title record or what, but she's out at number 16. Sonya, like I said, hangs around. Charlotte, I believe, is the one who's got Naomi, starts battling with Naomi, and Naomi basically slides like a baseball slide out of the ring, but lands on her hands. But her feet are still behind her on the ring apron. But since Sonya is still out there, she comes and grabs Naomi by the hands and just jerks her right out of the ring and eliminates her. That disappointed me a little bit because I know they're building this issue between the two of them. It should be good when Naomi finally beats the piss out of Sonya. But I was kind of hoping that Naomi would get this, but she didn't. After that, we get Ivory. Ivory coming out, 60 years old, in the right to censor gear, the right to censor music, gets on the mic and talks about these women are still a disgrace and nothing has changed, which surprises me because the right to censor gimmick should be very happy with the type of content WWE produces now because it sucks and it's for children and it's G-rated shit. So Ivory should be happy. Ivory should consider the right to censor successful. They did it. They were able to change WWE's smutty product to something a little bit more family friendly and a hell of a lot more dorky. So she gets on the mic, bitches a little bit. She'd be tossed out pretty quick. Brie Bella comes out. So Danielson's wife hits the ring in her stupid Brie mode song. She looked good. Both the Bellas look good. At number 20, we get Mickie James. This was pleasant to see. I'm glad WWE didn't call all the shots here and make her do whatever they said. I mean, there was obviously an agreement here because she came out number 1, not to her WWE Mickie James theme, but to her TNA hardcore country shit that she sang, and she was wearing the championship, and they referred to her as the Impact's champion. That makes me very happy because if she would have came back and it would have done nothing for Impact at all. You know, Impact is such a small company now. They're such a non-threat. If WWE would have been so douchey to say, no, you can't use the music, you can't wear the title, I don't even think she would have done it, you know? So that helped out Impact. It was cool to see. Another company's championship on WWE TV, and I put a tweet up earlier kind of thinking about this out loud, and I've got it. We could research and find out in 2 seconds, but off of the top of my head, if you exclude the WCW buyout when the tags and the U.S. titles and all those belts came in, if you exclude the buyout, there haven't been many times in history where a non-WWE owned title has appeared on WWE television. Happened a couple times in the 70s, I'm certain of it, but you know, in the 80s and so on, the only times I can ever think of it was when Flair came in with the big gold belt. Then later on in the Attitude Era, when they resurrected the NWA, they had the NWA title there. Dan Severn held it for a while, and I think even Jeff Jarrett or something when they brought that belt in for a short time. In the early 90s, they had Heavenly Bodies come in with the Smoky Mountain title. In 97, the ECW invasion happened, and I'm pretty sure like the Eliminators, whoever the tag champs were at the time, had the ECW tags on Raw in the Manhattan Center. And I think the FTW title might have also been there. But other than that, the Impact title is the only other one I can think of. So there might be some that I'm missing, but there haven't been very many non-WWE owned championships making appearances. I don't even think the USWA title appeared on WWE. There was a promo where Vince held the title and did some shit with it, but I don't think they ever brought that to WWE television that I can remember. So it's been a while. So that's kind of cool. Like, it's something that doesn't happen often. And as a longtime wrestling fan, I kind of think that's cool when another company's championship appears on WWE TV. Something you don't see every day. So Mickie, luckily, would hang in the ring for a little while and not get eliminated so quickly. Alicia Fox is another surprise entrant. She was in at number 1. She comes in like a house of fire, kicking everybody, and she nailed Liv Morgan hard. Liv's face was even like, holy shit, she just kicked her right in the face. Real stiff kick on Liv there, but it's always good to see crazy-ass Alicia Fox. Nikki ASH was out after that, followed by Summer Rae, Nikki Bella, and Sarah Logan. Interesting names there. Summer Rae, of course, is the legend that all the fans shit their pants about. She was only in the ring about 10 seconds, just like Kelly and just like Melina. None of these legends are hanging out for very long. Nikki, although, would hang out a little bit longer because her sister is in there, and the two of them would team up for a bit. And Sarah Logan is back, at least temporarily. She was let go in that batch of releases a year or two ago. She's had a baby since then. She looked a lot different, but she looked good. She was in there fighting hard, and really cool kind of reunion with Liv Morgan. You could tell that Liv was very emotional about that, to see 2/3 of the Riot Squad kicking it again. But Sarah, I don't recall who tossed her out, but she wasn't in there very long. Lita came out at number 26, and she would be the one to eliminate Mickie James. And they kind of had a couple battles back in the mid-2000s, correct? They're no strangers. So that was kind of cool that she was the one to eliminate Mickie, and WWE didn't insist it was like Charlotte or anything like that. They just had Lita do it, and it was kind of nice. One of my favorite parts of the match was number 27, Mighty Molly, because Mighty Molly comes out, and I'm like, that makes me so happy. Molly is like one of the most beloved women in all of wrestling, one of the most beloved figures. She's an absolute angel, but I wasn't even thinking that Nikki ASH is in the ring. It's not even registering to me yet. I'm just happy to see Molly. So Molly comes strutting down to the ring, and she is blindsided by Nikki ASH. There can only be one superhero in the WWE at a time. Nikki kicks her ass and eliminates her. I thought that was terrific. That was terrific. Nice little touch there for Nikki ASH to have a huge problem with Mighty Molly crashing the Royal Rumble. Liked it, liked it, liked it. Number 28, we hear Joan Jett. Out comes Ronda Rousey. Fans pop a little bit. She's wearing all black this time. I forgot what her shirt said, badass or something like that. And she's back just like that. I mean, we've heard the rumors, and, you know, we knew it was possible, but I don't even think it felt like it shocked the crowd that much. It wasn't that much of an ovation, like a shocking reaction from them. And I kind of wish this was kept quiet, because what sucks about this is that we've always talked about a Ronda Rousey return. We know it's inevitable at some point, but she really wasn't on our radar most recently. All of this Ronda news happened just in the last couple of days. So I feel like if they kept it a secret this fucking long, how come they couldn't wait a couple of more days and make Ronda Rousey coming out here a little bit more surprising, but, it is what it is. She's back. She's in the ring now, and she starts kicking ass right away. She looks pretty good. She might be a little bit rusty. I'm sure she's been working out, but she, is back for the first time in way over a year, a couple of years now. So almost 2. So she starts kicking ass right away. Number 29 is Shotzi Blackheart, and number 30 is Shayna Baszler. And let me just do a quick sidebar here and scold the WWE for being the worst theme music producers ever. It seems like tonight's theme of both Royal Rumbles was brand new theme songs that sounded like the most generic shit. The CFOs did a good job with a lot of those themes, and they are dropping by the day. And Shayna Baszler, I believe, debuted a new theme on Friday. We listened to Bobby Roode come out to a shitty theme tonight. Imagine not wanting to play Glorious. And I just cannot believe, it blows my mind that WWE actively, on purpose, tries and wants to create the most generic theme music possible for its wrestlers, when they know better than anybody that theme music can be a very important part of a wrestler's persona. They learned that back in the 90s with Jim Johnson. I think one of the only things that was really keeping them up with WCW when they got Hogan and everything was really solid theme music and characters and stuff. And, I remember at that age, the feeling some of these theme songs would give me, Brett's or Sean's or Razor's, and you could connect with them and you loved them. And it's important to have theme music that doesn't sound like a bowl of shit. And I don't understand why they purposely do this. And I understand the CFOs and the contract stuff, and they want to get those songs out of there. But why did you, what are you doing now? Who's making your music now? A fucking 14-year-old in his basement? This is terrible. This sounds like just royalty-free shit you can find on YouTube. I just cannot believe how badly their theme music has gotten. They still got some good ones. I like Roman's, and I like Lashley's, and there's a few others that are decent, of course. They don't all suck. But they could be a hell of a lot better, and I don't understand what the hell is going on with WWE's theme music. These people are idiots. Anyway, so now we got everybody in the ring. Everybody's made their entrance. Charlotte would eliminate Rhea Ripley, which was a bummer to see. I didn't really think Rhea was going to win or anything, but never like to see Charlotte tossing her out. Then we get down to our final 4, which is Bianca. It's a hell of a final 4, too. It was a final 5 with Ripley in there, but once she's out, we have Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, Charlotte, and Ronda Rousey as your final 4. And Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, kind of give each other a little nod there. I would love to see them form some sort of an alliance on TV. Knowing WWE, they might have an interaction and be cool with each other on TV, but then Ronda will attack her or something. But I think it could help Shayna Baszler to kind of, be a teammate of Ronda Rousey, or at least, somebody that's aligned with her for storyline purposes and stuff. They're 2 badass women. So I would love to see them kind of form this. But if Ronda's going to be going over to Raw, I think Baszler's on SmackDown, correct? So might not work out. But we'll see where it goes. Hopefully that's not the last time we see Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler interact, because I believe the last time that Ronda was there, Shayna was still in NXT. She wasn't there yet. So this could be new. This could be fun. Provided WWE gives a shit enough to do it. So Charlotte winds up eliminating Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler at the same time, leaving us with Charlotte and Ronda Rousey as the final 2. So they have the stare down there. That's pretty cool. These women have faced before. I was there in the audience live for that Survivor Series 2018 when the fans really kind of turned on Ronda Rousey for some reason. After hating Charlotte, all of a sudden in the match, they just changed their mind and now they hate Ronda. It was real weird. So to see them back together here, the 2 of them, for the first time kind of since then, was awesome. So, I guess they saw each other at WrestleMania 35 as well a couple of years ago. But the 2 of them in the ring, I thought we might get a fun little encounter, maybe like a little miniature match between the 2. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. But almost right away, with relative ease, they hook up in the middle of the ring, and Ronda just hooks Charlotte around the leg and just pulls her back to the corner and just stumps her out. I mean, they never exchanged moves. They never ran the ropes. They never traded punches, nothing. Ronda just grabbed her, tossed her right out, and won the Royal Rumble. Hops up to the top rope or the middle rope and points to the WrestleMania sign. Her WrestleMania sign pointing has improved a little bit since she debuted, because she debuted at the Royal Rumble, right? A bunch of years ago, and did that weird looking point, and everybody gave her a hard time about it. The pointing skills have gotten a little bit better, but she still does it really, really weird. But speaking of the WrestleMania sign, I shouldn't laugh about this, but I think because it sounds like nobody was injured, I feel like we can. They set the WrestleMania sign on fire with the fireworks. So fireworks, I guess, go off, and then people start reporting who are there at the arena on Twitter and stuff, and like they've evacuated a section of the audience, and because the WrestleMania sign caught on fire and was melting. The whole thing was melting, apparently, so they removed the whole section out from under it. I think they lowered the sign, put out the fire, and some people were saying the WrestleMania sign was back up. I was getting ready for the stream. I don't even recall seeing Brock point to it. Did he point to it? I don't even remember. I was trying to set everything up. But the sign apparently catches fire. The next match we get is Becky Lynch defending the Raw Women's title against Doudrop, but all the fans are kind of distracted by the fucking fire that's happening in the ceiling. So just typical WWE. They're either shooting fans in the face with fireworks, blowing up Undertakers, blowing up their own stars and in their entrances, or they're just catching their own shit on fire. Be careful going to WWE show. You might not come back alive. So the fans were kind of deflated after the Rumble for Becky and Doudrop. And like I said earlier, why didn't they do this match before? This was very strange placement here. They should not have done this match because nobody's expecting Doudrop to win the title. But man, you do the Rumble first and have Rousey win. I mean, if there maybe was one out of the 44,000 people in the audience that thought Doudrop might win, they don't think that anymore. So I don't know why they just didn't do this match after Roman and Seth. Weird. Didn't pay much attention to the match because I was kind of catching my breath from the Royal Rumble. It was a little flat. It was okay, though. I mean, Becky got a good match, a decent match out of Doudrop, and I'm glad that she got this opportunity. But in the end, it took a second rope manhandle slam to get the job done. Becky was trying to hit this move on Doudrop a few times with no success, but Doudrop found herself standing on the second rope, so Becky hopped up there, took advantage, and hit her with her finisher for the win and retain the title. So nothing surprising there at all. I think they could have shaved 5 minutes off the match. I mean, I really do. I think it wasn't even that necessary, and I think they should have done it definitely before the Royal Rumble. So we'll get into Brock and Lashley here in a second. Let me cruise back over here to the chat and maybe catch up on this stuff. Also, if you can keep smashing the thumbs up button, we're not even up to 100 likes yet, which sucks. But help me out so we can keep having fun here. And I'm going to knock out a few more of these dupers for us. Let me see. Where are we at? And I apologize. Since this is a pay-per-view review and, a few more people in the chat than normal, if I miss anything, I will be sure to make it up to you in the next podcast, just in case I miss anything. Okay, we're good. Okay, none came in. Yeah, Melina looked good. Yeah, Zane, I talked about the NWA title with Jarrett already. Funkadactyls, right. That's what it was. I couldn't remember the name of them. Brock did point to the sign. Thank you. It caught fire again 2 times? Oh, yeah, and the Kofi botch. We'll get to that. What a bump Kofi took. Did you see that? Like, fucking caved his chest in. I think the plan was for him to survive that, but, he's been pretty damn creative. Sooner or later, it wasn't going to work out. So we'll get to Kofi here in a minute. We didn't see Corey Graves tonight, although was there something that he did that I missed? He thought twice about it. Yeah, I guess he didn't want to get in the ring. Deshaun, there's a super chat from you. Dude, appreciate that $2. Rhonda is 4 months apart from having her baby. That's right. I think she had it in September, and that's pretty incredible. Props to these women who can get themselves in shape after something like that. My God, if I had a baby, it would take me forever to repair my lower unit and get myself back in shape. These women are warriors. Look at the shape Becky got herself in. She looks amazing. She looks better than she did before she was pregnant. And Rhonda's the same way. I've had friends like that too. When my good friend was pregnant, she's real tall and skinny. She didn't change at all. Just looked like she had a basketball under her shirt. That's it. So, some women can pull it off and just get themselves right back like it was nothing. I certainly don't have the strength to do that. Max Pokey, bruh, thank you for the $2. Reigns, Lesnar, Rollins, WrestleMania 31 rematch. Maybe. I feel like WWE wants Roman and Brock to pay that off, but boy, that history there between those three, really good point. Really good point. Yeah, I didn't see those earlier. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything. No, Javon, I did not see Rhonda's post-interview. If there's anything significant coming out of that, please let me know. I've been flapping my gums forever, so no, I have not seen that. Marcus the Entertainer, thank you for the $5, man. By the way, for those of you just joining us, we're in the middle of the Royal Rumble review. Next match we're going to talk about is Brock and Lashley. That's the next one. Thank you for that 5, Marcus. I think the right people won, all things considered, but the booking to get there was lazy and kind of boring. Agree. It was. I think if you want to set the stage for Mania, what happened tonight kind of needed to happen. Like I said, there's a few things you could have tweaked. I don't think Ronda necessarily needed to win the Rumble, and I don't think Brock necessarily needed to win the Rumble for both of them to get their respective title shots against Becky and Roman. But I think WWE wants them to make the Rumble the deal, the really big deal. And I really don't have any problem with that. So sometimes that's going to mean that, the Sami Zayns and the Kevin Owens ain't going to be winning these things. And it's not a big deal either. So there's no right or wrong way to really do it. But yeah, they could have thrown a little swerve at us tonight, because even though WWE probably considers what they did tonight a bunch of swerves, we saw all these swerves coming. So are they really swerves? Monique hated the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble sucked in all caps. $2 from you, Monique. Thank you very much. I am sorry you had such a bad time. Hey, I don't think the Royal Rumble was great, but I'm certainly not angry about it or anything like that. And fuck, I probably can even think of worse Rumbles in my head. I don't even think tonight was really that bad. I always have a trip. Whenever I'm off and I don't have to fucking work and I'm watching wrestling and kicking back and, having a frosty brew, I'm a pretty happy guy, man. I don't really require that much. And how cool are Saturday pay-per-views? This is the way to do it. If you're on the East Coast right now, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. If you're a YouTuber on the East Coast, you're podcasting in your house at 1 o'clock in the morning, probably loud as hell. Somebody shout out Solomonster, one of them other East Coast boys, if they're online right now, and say, go to bed, motherfuckers. But for me, it's only 10 o'clock because I live in California. But yeah, Saturdays are the way to go, because if this was Sunday, a lot of people got to work the next day, and that blows. So anyway, where did we leave off? Brock Lesnar defending WWE title against Bobby Lashley. This one I was ready for. First of all, Lashley looked so badass in that white. I liked it at the last pay-per-view. He wore red. He wore red at day one, and I complimented how good he looked. And here he was rocking the white, and I liked the white trunks on Seth Rollins when he wore them all those years ago, and Lashley just looked tremendous in white. So we're getting this dream match finally of these two guys. And I think I put on Twitter that I think I'm a little bit more interested in this match than most people on account of how similar these two guys are to me. I mean, the three of us are pretty much the same guy. So I kind of have a lot of interest in Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. But it's a dream match, and we finally get to see it. So they both make their entrances. It feels big. At this point, during this point in the show, I'm feeling good because I'm like, this is cool. Lashley looks like $1 million. I don't understand how either of these guys are the same age as me. I think all three of us are like 44. So for Lashley especially, even more so than Brock, to look the way he does just blows my mind. So we get the introductions. It feels big, and we're off and running right away. I was kind of looking for a quick match here because I thought this would kind of be like a Goldberg-Brock type of match. They're probably not going to be going 30 minutes here or anything. So look for those early spears, look for those early Germans, shit like that. And we got that. We get Brock hitting a German first, and Lashley returns the favor with the German. Now, we would get a lot of Germans throughout the course of this match that all look like shit. Am I imagining things, or did every German in this match look terrible? The first one Lashley hit on Brock, he overextended a little bit, came down on the back of his neck, but every one that Brock threw on Lashley, he was like coming down on his elbow. And I was like, be careful. I mean, ever since we saw that Rey Fenix injury a couple of weeks ago, I'm like freaked out anytime anyone lands on their arm. So when Lashley is landing that way, I'm like, why is he taking him like that? And I mean, maybe he's got a neck problem. Maybe he's bumping that way on purpose because he can't take a flat one. I don't know. But the Germans weren't looking too good. So after they exchange Germans, we get a spear to Brock right away, and Lashley doesn't even attempt the pin because he knows who Brock is, gets right up and hits him with a second spear. I believe Brock kicks out of that. One way or the other, they find themselves on the outside of the ring, and they try to redo the spot they did at day one. Brock is up against the barricade. Lashley charges for a spear. Brock moves. Lashley destroys the barricade and misses this time, unlike at day one where I believe he hit that on Brock. So we find ourselves back in the ring now. Lashley is bleeding from the mouth. He's all busted up, and he's basically at Brock's mercy here. Brock hits him with about 6 Germans, I think I counted, 5 or 6. And every one of them, like I said, Lashley was landing on his arm. Looked really weird. Brock ends up going for the F5, but Lashley counters out of it into a hurt lock, kind of slides off his back and boom, locks in the hurt lock. Great spot there. Brock, I mean, he's got the fingers locked and everything. So Brock's fighting it. He just looks like this big bear, trying to fight out of the hurt lock. And he finally backs Lashley up into the corner to break it, but the referee gets wedged in there, so he gets sandwiched and smashed up against the turnbuckles. He goes down, so now you got the ref bump. And the crowd immediately was like, oh, fuck, because we just saw the DQ in the Universal title match earlier on, so they were kind of freaked out that something real fishy was going to go on here. So the referee is down. He starts to get up, but Lashley, I think... Brock picks Lashley up for the F5. That's what it is. I think the referee survives the bump in the corner, kind of gets up, and then when Brock goes to F5 Lashley's feet catch the referee and he goes down. So the referee is down for good this time, and that's when Roman Reigns appears out of nowhere, shows up in the ring, and spears Brock Lesnar, and then looks down at Paul Heyman and stares at him, and you kind of at first think that it's Roman getting a little bit of revenge on Heyman, but then Roman extends his hand and Heyman hands him the WWE title. That was a great part because they were telling a story without saying anything. You were just handing it right over and you're like, oh, the fix is in. You knew it. We speculated on this. At least I did from the minute that Roman Reigns fired Paul Heyman on SmackDown, because if you notice, when he was going to smash his head with a chair, he didn't do it. Brock came out to make the save. All Heyman did was eat a Superman punch. And I said, I can totally see Paul Heyman's character taking a Superman punch for the team to make things look really good, provided they are betting on the fact that Brock will save him from getting his brain splattered. And, they pulled it off to perfection. This was probably going to go down at day one, so they did it this way instead since we didn't get that match at day one. So Heyman hands the belt over to Roman. The crowd knows immediately what's going on. Roman then bashes Brock in the face with the championship, gets out and tosses the belt down, hops out of the ring, and Paul Heyman picks his hands up and just walks away and leaves with Roman Reigns. MVP is giddy like a schoolgirl at this point because he's like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. And he's like, Bobby, pin him. And Lashley crawls over to Brock and pins him for the win and wins the WWE title and celebrates and actually puts the title on. And when that badass Bobby Lashley wearing those white trunks with that belt looked like a badass. So he wins the title. I couldn't be happier. That's another match that, I know that a lot of people are shitting on this pay-per-view, but this was a good outcome. This is what you want. If Lashley and Brock are going to face each other for the first time, you want Lashley to get that victory because Brock is Brock. I swear to God, Brock could take a loss from Wee Man and be fine. They fought each other apparently in the hotel the night before, and Wee Man got slammed through a table. But if that match happened and Wee Man pulled off the upset, I don't think anybody would... I think Brock is so fucking strong that he could survive that loss and still, for the most part, be Brock Lesnar. That's not the same thing for someone like Bobby Lashley, where if he would have been F5'd and pinned, it would, then what? There's so much more to get out of Lashley winning because it helps Lashley and doesn't affect anybody else, where if he did it the other way, it would damage Lashley and not affect Brock at all because Brock's Brock with a win or loss. It doesn't matter. He's Brock. And when you get to that level of stardom, that's when you need to start using the wins and losses just, as smart as possible and really starting to, get as much value out of that stuff as you can. So you got to remember that I think what happened at day one with Roman not being able to compete did play a role in this pay-per-view being somewhat predictable. But when it comes to Lashley winning this match, I don't give a fuck if there's shenanigans. All I was trying to avoid here was a Lashley clean loss in the middle. I didn't care what the hell they did, as long as it wasn't that. I didn't even care if Lashley didn't walk out with the title. I didn't even care if he didn't win the title. If they did something like they did with Seth or whatever, or, if Brock had to cheat to win, just whatever it was, just don't kill Lashley was my only, hope. And not only did Lashley not die, he won the title, and now he's WWE champion again. And now we're back to where we were before Big E cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase. So Lashley's the champ. He's going into WrestleMania now as champion, not to be in the main event, but probably to be in the undercard of night one, just like he was last year, correct? I think that he'll probably be in the same spot. Him and Drew were on the undercard of night one. I think Becky and Ronda will probably main event night one, and Roman and Brock will main event night two. That's my guess. But with Lashley champ now, we talked about it at the beginning of the podcast here. Who does he face? Is it going to be Seth Rollins? Is it going to be Kevin Owens, who was my pick to win the Royal Rumble tonight? It could still be Big E, but we already got Big E and Lashley at least twice last year in the title match, and then they did the cage match. So I don't know if you run that one back at WrestleMania. And I think, did I hear this right? I didn't watch SmackDown last night. Have they moved Big E to SmackDown? Somebody said that, but I might have completely misheard or misread that. But anywho, Lashley's our champ now, and he's going to WrestleMania. Next matchup is Edge and Beth Phoenix taking on Miz and Maurice. We'll knock this one out. Then I will go back to the chat here and answer some questions before we get into that men's Royal Rumble, which a lot of people are going to just love to hear about. So then we get kind of our, a buffer between Lashley and Brock in the men's Rumble, but not really a buffer. I mean, it's Edge and Beth Phoenix. It's husband and wife. This is very cool. Mixed tag match, and they look great. Miz and Maurice came out all in red. They hit the ring first. Edge and Beth Phoenix came out together. They were a little bit color-coded. Them Copelands looked damn good. Kids were in the front row. Very cool to see. Crazy that Lita was also there, too, which is kind of fun. I'm glad that everybody there is on cool terms, and, Beth doesn't seem to have any weird feelings about Lita, considering how open Lita and Edge were with their sexualizations on TV back in the day, but kind of cool and just nice to see everybody, kumbaya in it and being happy together. So I didn't pay much attention to the match because I got to start getting ready for the stream at this point, so I'm eyeballing it a little bit. It did turn out to be way better than I thought, and it was exciting a couple of times, and they did some shit I wasn't expecting. Beth Phoenix hits a powerbomb on The Miz at one point, and then Maurice hits a top rope Hurricane Rana on Edge. I did not have Maurice hitting a Rana on Edge on my bingo machine for this year, that's for sure. That was hilarious. Double spear to The Miz from Beth and Edge, and they hit it very smoothly. It looked like something they practiced in their backyard or something. Beautiful looking double spear to Miz, who sells it brilliantly. Does a complete headstand basically and remains vertical for a couple of seconds before toppling over. Great stuff. The finish saw a dueling husband and wife in stereo glam slam to Maurice and Miz. They pin them, they win, they celebrate, of course. Edge goes out to the ring, hugs his daughters, and everything was happy, happy, happy. The only thing that kind of bummed me out here is that Edge, or Beth, but Edge specifically, didn't get a chance to defend his Royal Rumble victory from last year. I mean, if Brock was in the match, why couldn't Edge be in the match? And like we'll talk about in a minute with Brock, I also think Brock should have replaced somebody. I had the idea the other night that Brock Lesnar, or on the predictions video, that Brock Lesnar corners Dominic Mysterio backstage and just F5s him into the fucking steak table at catering and takes his place and then goes out and wins the Rumble. But Brock just came out there. So why couldn't Edge have come out there? I think Edge should have defended his crown. But Edge wasn't going to win, so why have him out there, I guess, was their mentality on that. But I would have had some guys doing double duty, more guys than just Brock. But Edge and Beth Phoenix got the win. Feel good match there. No real issue with it. We'll see if they do anything else between these four on TV, or if the issue is now dead, and maybe Edge can start building up to what he's going to do at WrestleMania. And there's been a lot of talk about AJ Styles. If he doesn't challenge Bobby Lashley, which could be nice for the WWE title, we could get an Edge and AJ feud. I mean, at this point in their careers, if we don't get it now, I don't think we get it, So that could be fun if that turns out to be a Mania program, and we'll see where that goes. Before we get into the men's Rumble, let me just cruise over here, chat it up, see what you guys are saying. Knock out a super chat or two that's coming through. Super Fluffy Toaster, good to see you, man. Thank you for that 5 from Australia. All the Sunday pay-per-views are on Monday here, so it works out better for us with them on Saturday in the U.S. That's right, because you guys are, way ahead of us, right? So yeah, I bet it does work out better just for everybody to do it on Saturday, especially when you have these 4-hour shows, that go into the wee hours of the evening. If you got to work at 8 a.m. the next day, you're probably not wanting to stay up past midnight and shit. I'm a night owl. I stay up till 4 a.m. anyway, but I'm a weirdo. Not everybody's like that. So yeah, I'm glad that it seems to work out for everybody overall. That's the way it should be. And I think Saturday pay-per-views should be something more common as we go forward. So keep our fingers crossed that it's a thing. Let me see. Where do we leave off with my notes here? Men's Royal Rumble is up next. And I got to say, the first half of this thing felt underwhelming, and it really felt like, another thing too, is somebody that's watched every single Royal Rumble, you can legitimately tell the difference between Pat Patterson Royal Rumbles and non-Pat Patterson Royal Rumbles. You can. There's a distinct feel to them when he used to be involved in these. And tonight, what I didn't like about this, especially in the first half of it, is it really felt like it was all building up to Brock. Like they didn't care so much what was going on during the match, and in terms of, the intricacies of booking it and whatnot. They just wanted to get to that Brock payoff that a lot of fans saw coming. So if they would have maybe made this match a little bit more interesting, gotten a little bit more creative with the orders of entry or whatever, maybe it could have saved it for some fans. But I think the Rumble itself was one of the more underwhelming Rumbles in recent history, in my opinion, in terms of what we saw during the match before we got to the end. I personally, just full disclosure, don't have a problem with the Brock victory. A lot of people do. I don't. But I didn't really like the way the match was set up. I thought it could have been a little bit more exciting, especially with the first two. I was hoping we would see a fun number 1 and 2, and I got nothing against AJ Styles and Nakamura. But when AJ Styles came out at number 1, you know who I thought number 2 might be? Cena. We mentioned Cena. We got no Cena tonight. He wasn't even in town probably. He's probably in Timbuktu filming a movie. But I was kind of hoping that AJ and Cena would get a chance to be in the ring for a couple of minutes and renew that rivalry. We're probably never going to see those two work together again. I'd like to see them team up in the future, have a tag team match against, win the tag team titles together. Cena comes back for 6 months, does a little run. Him and AJ, team up out of mutual respect and take down a pair of tag champs for fun, just for fun. We'll see. But I was kind of hoping Cena would come out to number 2. It wasn't. It was Nakamura instead. And the first, half of this match, like I said, was underwhelming. AJ won, Nakamura 2, Austin Theory came out at number 3, and Bobby Roode with really shitty music. I guess I've never listened to that or noticed his new non-glorious theme, but it sucks. And he came out at number 4, and I did like that him and AJ had a little face-off there. How many times has AJ and Roode hooked up on WWE TV? I'm sure it's happened a bunch. It just doesn't seem like something that really registered to me. So when I saw them there, little TNA chant from the crowd, Roode gave a little happy nod. So I thought we would see the two of them go at it for a bit, but we didn't. AJ eliminated Roode almost immediately. So Roode worked as long as Summer Rae did, it felt like. So he was out. Ridge Holland in at number 5. Montez Ford at number 6. I said on Twitter that if Montez wins the Rumble, he ain't going to point to the Wrestlemania sign. He's going to jump up there and stand on it. Damian Priest came out at number 7, and Sami Zayn out at number 8, which means you knew once Sami got out there, we were probably going to see Knoxville. You knew Knoxville wasn't going to be there near the end, so if we were going to see him, or when we saw him, it was going to be early. And of course, he came out immediately after Sami Zayn, which again is annoying because they make that predictable too. You got 30 people coming out here. And if you notice all these Rumbles, the tag teams always seem to come out real close together. They're never split up. You never see a tag team member come out at number 2 and the other one come out at number 28. Maybe in one of the early Rumbles you did, but in any modern Rumble, they are out one after another. Friends are out after another. Foes are out one after the other. You can always tell, when somebody else is coming out. So when Sami was out at number 8, I'm like, Knoxville's 9. And sure enough, he was. And he came out there with some of the Jackass crew. Wee Man was with him, Preston Lacey, some other guy I didn't recognize. And there was that video going around on social media where Wee Man was put through a table by Brock Lesnar at the hotel the night before. That looked fun. Sounded like everybody just had a blast this weekend hanging out. And even Brock Lesnar getting in on the shenanigans. So Knoxville comes into the ring. He punches AJ Styles right in the face. Looked like a stiff punch. AJ nails him. He goes down. And like I said, when this announcement was made for Knoxville and you had some fans that want to get pissed about this, I'm like, celebrities are always a part of what WWE does. They put a lot worse people in the ring than Johnny Knoxville. To get mad about this is a little bit ridiculous when you think back to years past. And I brought up one of the greatest Royal Rumbles of all time in 2001 when Drew Carey was in the Royal Rumble. And a guy like that ain't going to be taking any bumps. He just got in there and pissed his pants and left. At least Knoxville's nuts. At least Knoxville will take a bump. We saw Steve-O and Party Boy get their bell rung by Umaga all those years ago. So you knew if Knoxville was going to be in this match, he'd do something. He's He's not going to just do nothing. So he got in there and took a little bit of punishment. AJ nailed him, and then Montez Ford hit him with his crazy frog splash. Kind of landed on his legs. Don't know if he meant to do that or if he just wanted to stay away from Knoxville's chest or whatever, but Johnny got rocked with the frog splash, and then Sami Zayn hits him with the haluva kick to eliminate him. I had said in my predictions that he would get eliminated, but the Jackass crew would catch him. But they must have gone to the back. I didn't see them really at ringside. So after that, Sami Zayn gets eliminated by AJ Styles. And then we get Angelo Dawkins out at number 10, and Omos out at number 11. Some people had Omos picked to win this. I did not. I did not expect him to win. I don't even remember who the hell eliminated him. Did AJ have something to do with that? I did not write that down. But prior to the match, I put on Twitter, I said, if Brock is in the Rumble, he's the guy that should eliminate Omos. But I think AJ had something to do with it. There's probably multiple people. I don't remember. But Omos gets in there, dominates for a bit, dumps out both Street Profits. And then we get a whole slew of just mid-carders hitting the ring one after the other. We get Ricochet at 12, Chad Gable at 13, Dominic at 14. So unfortunately, my prediction of Dominic getting killed and replaced by Brock did not come true, at least yet. Corbin is out at number 15, Dolph Ziggler at 16, Sheamus at 17, Rick Boogs at 18, Madcap Moss at 19, and finally it got a little good at number 20 with Riddle. Or no, I've got these wrong. I forgot where Riddle came out later. I don't know where Riddle was. I'm a little goofed up here. All I know is that after Madcap Moss, who I think must have been 19, you can help me here, Drew McIntyre made his return at number 20. I've got Riddle's name written down twice. I was probably confusing myself. If you're thinking about starting a wrestling podcast, don't. Because when you get to Rumble time, it's going to suck. Rumble notes are a pain in the ass. Pain in the ass. And I know I got something goofed up here. So Drew McIntyre comes out at number 20. We thought he could be out for a year. I don't know if they swerved us or if he just needed to get evaluated and he didn't want to wrestle until he got the okay, and he feared that maybe it could be something that could keep him out a year, and now he's cleared and he's back. I think maybe Drew and WWE were both hoping they would get a John Cena-like surprise reaction from the crowd, like when John Cena came back in 2008. Because at Madison Square Garden at the Rumble way early, because back then John Cena was pretty hated by the audience, but people were so shocked that he was back way earlier than he was projected to be. They popped for it, but they didn't really pop for Drew here. At least not from what I could tell. My ears could tell anyway. It didn't sound like the crowd went really that nuts for him. So he came out to kind of a mild reaction. Crowd went mild, as they say. He hits the ring immediately, eliminates Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin, thank God. Kevin Owens I have written down for 21, and I have Riddle written down for 22, although I don't know if I'm right about Riddle or not. I'm not sure where Riddle came in, but Owens came out. Then we had Rey Mysterio at 23, I believe. Kofi Kingston came in at 24, and Otis at 25. Now, Kofi would get a crazy elimination. Now, he got launched off the rope, and they showed the replay of it in slow motion. He is like gliding Montez Ford style in the air. He is really high. And I guess the plan is for him to come down and land basically chest first on the barricade, but catch himself and like just hang on to it. And from there, I don't know what he was going to do. If he was going to climb on the barricade and walk it, or jump back over to the ring apron. That was probably what he was going to do, is get up there and then make the leap across. And we've been wondering when one of these saves is going to go wrong. But when they showed the replay, and I think it was in part just due to how high he got, and he hit the barricade, but both feet did touch the floor. And props to them for not pretending they didn't hit the floor. And when the replay showed that he was eliminated, they made him leave. So Kofi was out. That's a bummer. It would have been cool to see him save that and add that to his Royal Rumble save resume. Would have been cool. Big E was out at number 26, and Bad Bunny came out at number 27. So we knew Bad Bunny was in town. We all figured it was pretty likely we would see him, and he got an elimination too. Tossed Sheamus out of the ring, which was crazy. Here's an entrant I didn't need. Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon was out at number 28. Here comes the money. Probably dedicating this match to Grandma. Vince McMahon's mother passed away this week, a few days ago. Actually, about 9 days ago now. I think they said on January 20th, Vince's 101-year-old mother, Vicky, passed away. So she made it a long time. And Maybe Shane was dedicating that to his grandma, but for Vince to be 76 years old and to still have a mother is pretty incredible. I'm the exact same age difference with my mom. She had me when she was 25. So if I make it, if she lives until I'm 76, she will also be 101. So Shane was out there, rekindles his rivalry a little bit with Kevin Owens. They go at it a little bit, and he actually eliminates Kevin Owens. So bummer. My pick has been eliminated. And up until this point, my predictions were perfect, correct? I predict, oh no, actually they weren't. I predicted Roman to retain, but I didn't predict the DQ. So technically I got that one right and wrong. But the women's match I kind of got right. I said if Ronda's in it, she's going to win it. If not, it'll be Bianca. And of course, I had Lashley and Becky Lynch coming away with victories too, along with Edge and Beth Phoenix. So my pick for the Royal Rumble is now eliminated. So that kind of shifted my attention to Big E, who I thought now might have a legitimate chance as long as Brock doesn't come out. So in my mind, if we don't see Brock, based on everybody left in the ring, I thought it had to be Big E. I didn't really feel like it would be Drew McIntyre, and I didn't think it would be Orton or Riddle, because I think those two are headed for a collision at WrestleMania. So it was either Brock or Big E in my mind. Randy Orton, by the way, came out at number 29, and RK Bro hooked up a little bit and got some action in, and they eliminated Otis together, and they hit a sick, like, double team springboard cutter onto McIntyre. Like, I think Riddle launched off of Randy and hit McIntyre with a cool looking cutter. I like that a lot. And that leaves us with number 30, which of course was Brock Lesnar. Comes out at number 30. The fans kind of ooh and ah a little bit. I think a lot of people saw this coming, especially with the match being the main event. Now, if this would have been earlier on in the night, then we might have not seen Brock. It might have been Big E or something. But the fact that this match was put in the main event on the same card as a dream match with Lashley and Brock, I think that match should have gone on last unless they have something planned like Brock. So they made it kind of obvious, which I will agree with anybody who criticizes that, because they probably could have taken a different path to throw us off the trail a little bit. But, they kept it pretty damn obvious and telegraphed a lot of it. So Brock is out there at number 30. He eliminates Randy Orton. Excuse me. He eliminates Randy Orton. The crowd kind of sighs, and they're like, oh man, a little deflated on that one. Then he eliminates Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny looked like he was shitting his pants a little bit. And we had a little bit of a scuffle and mix up with Lesnar and Riddle. I think Riddle ate a German. When Brock first got in the ring, it wasn't much of an interaction, but it's something. Riddle and Brock, that's something I'd really like to see potentially down the road one day. And Brock also eliminates Shane McMahon. So that leaves who I said on Twitter, I said it's got to be Brock and Drew, the final two, based on what happened back in 2020. Two of them in the ring. Drew gets in Brock's face, and they have a little stare down. They battle for a little while, and in the end, not a big surprise, Lesnar lifts up McIntyre in F5 position and just F5s him right out of the ring and eliminates him. And Brock Lesnar, sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. Brock Lesnar wins the Royal Rumble. I need a sip of this beer. My God, my voice is going. I've been talking all night. So the crowd, they popped for it, but a lot of them did boo from what I heard. Fans were pretty critical online about this, too much Brock or, overused, or we saw that coming or whatever. Overall, I still think the show was okay. I don't think it was the worst show ever. I think it could have been a little bit less predictable. I might have done a thing or two differently. But when you look at the big picture and when you look at what this now sets up for WrestleMania, it's not that bad. And a lot of it is what we kind of already had figured, everything that they've done with Roman and Brock, that's what the fans have to understand. When you look at what Roman and Brock have done over the last few months, you can't just not do that match. You know what I mean? Because they don't think in terms of storyline. Oh, I've already seen it. And I'm like, well, you're just gonna drop the angle then? Like, you have to do this. You have to have this paid off because you did the thing at Crown Jewel, and I think they were setting up to do something like that at day one to set up WrestleMania, but then they changed gears and did it here at the Royal Rumble. But I don't understand why fans think the Roman and Brock match is weird. Of course it has to happen. Have you been watching TV? Have you been watching wrestling? Have you been seeing what they've been doing with these two guys? Of course they're headed for another showdown. How could they not be? So when they set up stuff like this, and Becky and Ron, the same thing, that's something that as fans we knew provided Ronda's coming back, we are going to get that. You don't bring Ronda back and then pretend her and Becky don't know each other. You got to give us that match. So this is how they chose to set it up. And wasn't the best way to do it, many can say, but I think, overall, when you look at this match by match, Roman and Seth ended in a DQ, but it was still my favorite match on the card, despite the DQ. I think we got a fair enough surprises in the Rumble to make it satisfactory. And like I said, I don't think Ronda had to win it. I would have maybe even preferred to give it to a Bianca or a Naomi and still get Ronda to WrestleMania sometime, but they chose to use the Rumble as a way to get Ronda that ability to challenge whichever champion she wants. And now, obviously, it will be Becky. Doudrop and Becky Lynch was, completely shit the bed because nobody cared. And the sign was on fire, so that also affected things. But Brock and Lashley, I loved the dream match that we finally got to see, but maybe the match itself was a little weaker than I was expecting it to be. Like I said, those were some ugly German suplexes that were being thrown. And Brock and Lashley, even though it's a dream match, it's not a guarantee that match will be good. Brock, they might have conflicting styles. It might be hard for these guys really to have a great match. I think Brock and Roman can have a better match than Brock and Lashley can. So I don't think we were really even going to get a 5-star affair out of those two guys or anything like that, but I definitely expected it to be a bit better than like Brock and Goldberg or whatever. So maybe that match could have been a little bit better, but it's still a match that we've all wanted and WWE gave us, and they didn't even bury Lashley in the process. So there's a silver lining there, And then, of course, the mixed tag was what it was. It was fun, and it was designed for Edge and Beth to have their feel-good moment together, wrestle as a couple in front of their kids. You can't hate that. If you are, you're a soulless dick. But my only maybe disappointment there is that Edge, for whatever reason, chose not to defend his championship in the crown or defend his Royal Rumble title when guys were doing double duty. Why didn't he do it? And then in terms of the Rumble, my biggest problem with it is that it felt like the entire thing was phoned in to get to the end. So that I have a big problem with. I think the men's Rumble could have been more fun had it been structured differently. And the way they were kind of just running through it like that, it looked like they were more focused on that finish than they were actually making the match itself any good. So I understand all of those complaints totally. So there you go. That's my WrestleMania thoughts. My Royal Rumble thoughts in a nutshell. WrestleMania is coming up in a few months, so we will be discussing that down the road. But anyway, I'll go over here to the chats, talk with you guys for a bit, see if you guys have any more questions to ask and what your thoughts are going into the next few months of TV. Would still appreciate the thumbs up on this video if you don't mind. WWE, Barry says, WWE drops storylines all the time. I wouldn't put past WWE to want to do something totally different. Oh, yeah, they drop storylines all the time, but usually not mega storylines. When Savage and Hogan had their split on the main event and they went into WrestleMania 5, they just didn't drop that on the way there. They're the big ones they're going to follow through with. And Roman and Brock, I still find intriguing. Fans still think that a Roman Brock match now is the same thing as a Roman Brock match in 2015. It's not. It's a completely different thing. And the story that they've been going with the championship and with Paul Heyman and Roman pulling a fast one at Crown Jewel and hanging out under the title, and all of this is just, that's the course they're setting for WrestleMania. So I don't really have a problem with that course. I'm fine with Roman and Brock at Mania. Don't have an issue with it. And I'm fine with Becky and Ronda at Mania. And hopefully the undercard can be just as good. Hey, Rodrigo, good point. Didn't even think about that. You could do Edge versus Bobby Lashley. It's actually a good point. You could. I'm complaining that Edge didn't get in the Rumble and defend his crown, but since Roman is obviously going to be targeting Brock is going to be targeting Roman, that leaves the title open, and we mentioned Seth Rollins, we mentioned Kevin Owens. Why not Edge? I feel like before Edge's contract is done, he's going to get a nostalgia run just for a little bit. I think it could be fun. I'd be cool with Lashley and Edge, and this time Edge winning it instead of how he did last year, losing it and getting stacked and pinned by Roman Reigns. Hell yeah. Let me go back to these super chats that I missed a minute ago. Ike Moore, thank you so much for the 5. At this point, if he is available, Cena versus Lashley 2, with Cena finally getting title 17. I kind of mentioned something similar to that in my predictions. I said Cena could theoretically return in the Rumble and then challenge Bobby Lashley for the title. But I had a different outcome. Instead of Cena winning his 17th title, I had Cena losing because back, how many years has it been now? 15 years ago? Jesus. 15 years ago. 2007, right? It was right after the Chris Benoit murders. They worked Great American Bash, and Cena beat him. And shortly after that, I think Lashley was gone from the company. So he could get his win back against Cena. But at the same time, you got to know Cena's got to get that 17th title at some point. So a Cena victory is probably more likely than a Lashley victory, even though I kind of want to see Lashley get his win back. You could do that. Just depends on Cena. He could turn up in Crown Jewel. Elimination Chamber is going to be going on there, but that I think last year I was assuming that the Chamber would determine a Mania opponent, but the title was on the line in it. So I think they could put some titles up in the Chamber at Crown Jewel. Max Pokebra, thank you for 2 more from you as well. Wanted Omos to throw Knoxville into the 8th row. I don't know if Omos could. I'd worry that he'd injure Knoxville, but they could have given it a shot. Oh, they did the Earthquake elimination with Omos. Okay, thank you. Couldn't remember how he got dumped out. We saw no Braun Breaker tonight too. We didn't see any NXT talent, did we? I was thinking we would see Grayson Waller. Or no, we did see Grayson Waller. Did Waller come out? Is he in my notes here? No, he's not. I thought for sure we would see a few pieces of NXT talent, and I think it would have been cool to see Braun Breaker just be in the ring a little bit and interact with anybody. Interact with Brock. Would have been fun. You know, Brock could have eliminated him, but at least it would have gotten a rub for Mr. Breaker. Would have really liked to see him tonight, Braun Breaker, for sure. Greg, Meltzer reported that it's Charlotte versus Ronda in Mania and no NXT talent. Good. I mean, I was kind of back and forth. I even tweeted during the women's match that I was like, suddenly this isn't feeling like Becky and Ronda. It's feeling like Ronda and Charlotte. But then after the match, I kind of rethought it, and I'm like, no, it's probably still going to be Becky. But with everything going on with Ronda and Charlotte, I could see them doing that. And if they did that, I personally would actually prefer it. Because if they do Charlotte and Ronda, that means we get Becky and Bianca, which also means Bianca could beat Becky, and then Becky could hop to SmackDown or something and work with Ronda over there, and we can still get that one-on-one match. So, and honestly, that's probably better. I hope he's right, because when you think about a run like Becky's, she's had the title for so long. I mean, the pregnancy was in the middle there, but nobody's really beat her in a couple of years. If you're going to end a streak like that, is Ronda Rousey somebody that really needs that for her professional wrestling credibility, especially when she's apparently signed a 1-year deal? I think a victory like that would be much better served going to somebody like Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. So that news could really help what I want to see, and that is Bianca getting that match, because like I said tonight, I mean, I'm happy to see Ronda back and everything, but if they kick Bianca Belair to the curb now, after really kind of building up this thing, I feel like there's this issue with Bianca and Becky that they've kind of held off on for a bit, but the way Bianca was beat at SummerSlam and everything they did after that, and Bianca remaining strong, Becky really never truly had her number. For her to come back now and get that shot at Becky Lynch, this time at WrestleMania again, get revenge for SummerSlam, I thought was the story that should be told. But with Ronda coming back, it kind of changed all that. So if the plan is to do Ronda and Charlotte, that's good, because that's good for Bianca, but it could also be bad news for Naomi, who I was also hoping could maybe find her way into a championship match with Charlotte at WrestleMania. But if I had to choose between Naomi and Bianca getting a championship, I'd choose Bianca. I like her better. So I think that's great news. I hope that happens. Deshaun, thank you for that $5. I have no idea what your retracted message said, but thank you for that. Also, no Walter, no Gunther tonight either. We thought maybe we could get him in there. Good to see K-Dog's Kennel in the house. Fans today don't understand lengthy storylines. I remember when Savage won the title at WrestleMania 4. Everyone knew Hogan was going to be the guy to take the belt off of him. Took a year to build. I watched that pay-per-view. I've told the story of where I was when I watched that pay-per-view, vivid memories of WrestleMania 4. And even then, I was fucking 12, and I knew it because you can't not do Hogan and Savage. You know, now that Savage is put over, he wins the title, you knew that was going to be where they were going to go. And they spent that whole year, the Mega Powers together. And after each pay-per-view, Savage got a little bit more suspicious. Started right off the bat at SummerSlam. He looked at Hogan a little funny, just a little tease, just a little funny. Then at Survivor Series, it got worse. He looked at Hogan again. Now he's pointing at him. Wondered what the fuck? He's touching my girl. Enough's enough. And then it boiled. And then at Royal Rumble, it got physical. They got in each other's faces. Savage pushed Hogan. They were about to come to blows until Elizabeth cooled things off. And then you go to the NBC show on the main event, tag team match against the Twin Towers, and boom, you do the split. Slow burn. You can't do that now. The business doesn't move at 1988 pace anymore. If it did, you could get away with that. But just any sort of storytelling in general, like what they're doing with Bianca and Becky, and more importantly, what they're doing with Roman and Brock. And I think you have to pay that off, and you have to pay that off at a big show. So from that respect, I'll defend the decisions made tonight in terms of who went over. But I might have tweaked some things, and I think there were ways to make the show a bit more exciting. So we're not completely shitting out in here because we have not been very kind to WWE in recent years. AEW is doing a far better job of entertaining me these days, but the WWE pay-per-views are still very solid, and the big shows can still bring in a lot of attention. We had a big crowd tonight. They announced it at 44,000. I guess they've been announcing the crowd at about 10% more than what it actually is. So they probably drew about 40, which is still good. 40,000 is a hell of a crowd, even if you're padding it a little bit. That's impressive. I was at SummerSlam. I think there was a few more people there. And, they can still, for their big shows, can pull out big matches that people want to see, and they can still do well on these shows. But it seems to be the weekly stuff that really is where I struggle with WWE, because they don't offer anything special. They don't offer anything fun. Dynamite really seems to go out of their way to treat each individual show like its own little miniature pay-per-view, to where they try to do different stuff, where WWE just takes several templates and just plugs wrestlers into those spots and does the same thing on a repeat basis every week. So with these pay-per-views, I usually like them because, WWE tries a little bit harder. I think Survivor Series, there's no saving it at this point. Remember like 10 years ago, they talked about dropping Survivor Series and fans got pissed? I said they can do it now. I don't need it. Do you? I mean, aside from Survivor Series, Rumble, Money in the Bank, Mania, and SummerSlam are still very fun and can be good. But so I guess that's why I'll give them, a pass on some stuff, and I'm trying not to allow WWE being on my shit list to dictate how I review this show. I want to be fair. I don't want to, I don't want to play sides in this wrestling stupid war or anything that's going on. There was things about the show that I really liked tonight. There was. And there was things that I didn't, that I agree with many of you on. But in terms of who won and what it does to set the table for Mania, at least right now, I got no problem with it. So there might be other people on YouTube screaming and yelling, not me. So there you have it. We'll wrap things up here in just a couple of minutes, and then I'll get out of here. Yeah, I thought Zane's got a good point when Heyman joined Roman tonight. I'm like, is this part of a triple dog devil swerve or something? Like, is Heyman then going to fuck over Roman? Like, was it Heyman and Brock had this plan all along? Let's make Roman think that you're getting to him, and then I'll have Roman fire me and I'll join with you, but then I'll get back with Roman, so he thinks I'm in it with him, only to fuck him. Who knows? Paul Heyman is just crazy enough to hatch a plan like that would take that long to pull off. Too bad TLC isn't a thing anymore. I thought it was cool. TLC could be back. It's possible, because we didn't get a December pay-per-view, did we? So TLC could return in some form. I personally, Jose, however, don't want it back. I don't like gimmick pay-per-views. I don't like the Chamber. I don't like Hell in a Cell, and I don't like TLC. The only one I will tolerate is Money in the Bank, because it does have a lot of future implications, much like the Royal Rumble. But all that other shit, I can do without it. I want TLC matches whenever you want. I just don't want TLC pay-per-views. Same thing with Hell in the Cell. Yeah, Survivor Series is a staple of the big four pay-per-views. It is, Zane. It was the second one. It was the one that came after WrestleMania. It was number 2. It has a ton of history. I have vivid memories of 1987, of the first one. I was spent the night in the hospital, but I remember it. The next year, I watched it at home on pay-per-view with my cousins on Thanksgiving Day, and I have fond memories of the Survivor Series. But man, the last couple, especially that last one, was shit. The one I went to in 2018 was very good. It had Brock and Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan, and it had Ronda and Charlotte. But lately, especially this past November, the show was ass. The show was ass. Total ass. The Ass Boys. All right. No other notes to get into. Let me cruise over and see if we've got any wrestling news that I'm currently missing or not aware of. Not that I saw. We talked about Vince McMahon's mother earlier on, who passed away at age 101. We just brought her up recently on the podcast, too, because Bruce Pritchard recently made the comment that Vince McMahon is going to run WWE for 25 more years, and he said that Vince's mom is alive and kicking at 101, and literally just days later, she passes away. So that is sad. Toni Storm announcing she's taking bookings, according to a Fightful article here. That's kind of cool. All right, so no crazy wrestling news right now unless you guys have tagged me in some shit. Here we go. Baddest woman on the planet, Ronda Rousey reacts to winning the Rumble match.
Welcome back. You are the 2022 Royal Rumble winner. But, I'm going to go back to my bus and love on my little baby.
Love on my little baby. So she's not saying who she's challenging Charlotte? See if you guys got any other Twitter stuff. Yeah, we should maybe update ourselves as best we can. Look out for some Kofi news because he could have been legitimately injured on that spot. But hopefully he is okay. And today as well, Peyton Manning was on Weekend Update tonight on Saturday Night Live. That'll be fun to watch. And speaking of football, I woke up to the news today of Tom Brady retiring from the NFL, but it turns out that he has not officially made his mind up yet. And I tweeted out this big thread of my first real Tom Brady memory, and it was a thread of 6, and I left out the 4th one and skipped it. I'm like, oh fuck! So I just deleted the whole thing, and I'll wait until he actually retires to put that up. But I had just gotten hired. It was September of 2001, around 9/11 time, and I had gotten hired to help open a new restaurant. I would wind up staying with this company for almost 10 years, and we were building it. It was being constructed and painted, and we were starting to put stuff in the bar, and I remember it was starting to come together, and we had just hung up, it was like a week after 9/11, 2 weeks after 9/11, we had hung an American flag, for obvious reasons, in the entryway there, and we're trying to get the place set up. And I'm in there one day painting. A bunch of us are in there painting. I'm in the bar painting. We have the TV on in the bar. And I see that Drew Bledsoe, quarterback for the New England Patriots, goes down with an injury, got a head concussion or some shit, and he's going to be replaced by the backup. Tom Brady went to Michigan, and I thought nothing of it. Well, okay, whatever. We opened the restaurant. It opened a huge business in November, and we did really well for the first couple of months. So as a thank you to the staff that worked so hard to help get it open, we decided to throw a huge Super Bowl bash in 2002 for Super Bowl 2002. We hired outside staff to come in and cook and feed us, and all the drinks around the house. Everything was just a big bash, free liquor, free booze, free wine, free anything. We brought in foosball tables. We brought in multiple TVs. We even had the cable company come in to hook up, cable throughout the entire restaurant in multiple rooms and do all this stuff to really give the staff a fun time. And the Rams were favored to beat the shit out of the New England Patriots. The greatest show on turf, Kurt Warner and I think Marshall Faulk and all these other great guys. They had already won a Super Bowl trophy. They were a very exciting team, and they were heavily favored, I think, against the Patriots. And next thing you know, they're down at halftime, and we're all kind of shocked. Everybody had the Patriots. We're all betting. We got the squares and everything, and nobody's doing very good. And I'm like, this is crazy. And then I remember specifically as well the halftime show, the YouTube halftime show, where they scrolled all the names of the victims of 9/11. And I remember a few people that night getting a little choked up. But anyway, the game resumes, and Tom Brady goes on to upset the St. Louis Rams. I mean, really the kicker kind of won the game with the field goal, but Brady, this out of nowhere, backup QB who might not have even seen the light of day had his starter not gotten injured. I watched, not only I was there the day that he was announced as the starter, and then I watched him win his first Super Bowl, and that like kind of iconic image of him kind of putting his hands on his head in disbelief. That's the way we all felt. We were like, how the fuck did these guys win? And I never liked Tom Brady, and I never liked the New England Patriots, but growing up, I didn't like Michael Jordan either because I was a Pistons fan, but I can definitely recognize greatness when I see it, and I would go on to watch that asshole win like 6 or 7 more fucking trophies. Jesus, man. So if he does decide to retire, you might not love him, but he's going to go down as the greatest to ever do it. So I'm glad that I kind of have vivid memories of him and, kind of remember how it all started. And I sat in my house and watched a lot of Super Bowls with my friends and watched him win some and lose some. I had a 1-bedroom apartment the year that they went undefeated and faced the Giants in the Super Bowl to finish the year undefeated. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, and I shit you not, we had 26 people in there. And we were all in there crowded around my like 50-inch Sony TV that I had and watched the Giants come back from that, from that deficit and beat the Patriots and give them their only loss. It was like crazy history. I just have so many memories of all of that. So if Tom Brady retires, congrats on a hell of a career. You were the best to ever do it, even though I think you're a twinkle toes little fuck. Just kidding. We might see Brady come back. I feel Brady should have retired last year. I would have. I could not believe he came back this year. And they still made it to the playoffs, damn near made it to the Super Bowl anyway. But if I'm a quarterback, if I've got a 20-year career and I've played 20 seasons and I win the championship, see ya. I'm not going to risk, coming back and getting, having a losing record or not making the playoffs or being bounced in the first round or the wild card or being blown out at home or something like that. I want to go out on top. So props to Brady for having the guts to come back and go for another one. I don't know if that's greed or what, or if he just, wants to keep playing for the city of Tampa. I don't know, but I would have retired like Peyton did. Manning did that. He won the championship and was like, peace, I'm out. So that's what I would have done if I was Tom Brady. But what can you do? Thanks for the memories, Tom. Good to see you, Jim. Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt. Man, blast from the past. That's right. I forgot about those names. Yeah, and Tom Brady. So, if he played 22 seasons, he played exactly half my life. I'm 44. So he started playing when I was 22, and now I'm 44. And I'm pretty sure he's 44 as well. I think me, Tom Brady, Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, and John Cena and Stephanie McMahon. I think all of us are the same age. You can look it up and confirm, but I'm pretty sure we are all like within a few months of each other. Man. Edge versus Roderick Strong, that's not going to happen. Edge versus Grayson Waller, that's not going to happen either. Not at WrestleMania anyway. John Cena versus Goldberg at WrestleMania 38. I'm going to block you for suggesting that. CM Punk versus Edge, no, I don't think that's going to happen either. Just seriously doubt it. But we got to think about the undercard of WrestleMania as well. We've got the title matches kind of set now, but, what happens other than that? What goes on with the tags? What goes on with the U.S., with the IC? We saw Damian Priest tonight. I thought for sure Damian Priest would eliminate Bad Bunny from the Royal Rumble. That's what I would have done because he's been doing this stupid little rage gimmick of his, which I just don't like. It's not connecting with me. I don't believe him as a guy that will snap. First of all, he's wearing eyeliner. It's hard to take him seriously. And he's basically saying, don't cross me or whatever he's saying. He threatens people not to set him off or trigger him or whatever. It's just weird when I don't think he really even needed that. But I thought for sure he would eliminate Bad Bunny just to be a dick. But they never even were in the ring together. I don't think. So he's been champ for a while. Does Damian Priest remain U.S. champ until we get to WrestleMania and he drops it there? Is he a full heel by that point? When we get to that point, I don't know. But in terms of Raw, what's going to happen with Kevin Owens? What's going to happen with Big E? And what's going to happen with Seth Rollins, assuming he comes back to Raw? Unless Big E is now on SmackDown, I'm lost with that stuff. But the Raw title picture, I guess, is the biggest question because we don't really have a clear picture of what Lashley's going to do. We got plenty of ideas, but nobody really knows for sure. And the good news now being if what Meltzer is saying is true, I don't know if he said this on Twitter or if he's talking on his podcast right now or what, but if it's going to be Charlotte and Ronda, that is great news because that means we will probably get Bianca and Becky at WrestleMania. Oh, okay. So more than one person told me this in the chat. So after the Rumble, the sign set on fire again. I love that they just can't figure it out. That's just so great. I mean, I'm glad no fans were injured, or at least I hope they weren't. But the fact that WWE's setting their shit on fire, I don't know why, that just tickles me. So we will have to see if the Ronda and Charlotte news is legit or not. Yeah, Seth versus Bobby, I'm liking it. Edge versus Kevin Owens. These are all great matches, man. Edge versus Kevin Owens would be fun. A lot of fun. So would Seth and Bobby Lashley. And considering how Seth was rumored to win the WWE title at day one, you got to wonder what they were going to do. If he would have won it at day one, who would have won the Rumble tonight? Well, I guess probably still Brock, or no, maybe not Brock, because Brock would have had his match with Roman. So I just don't know what the plans would have been had everything not gotten messed up at day one. But Seth Rollins, based on his performance tonight, him getting screwed over, technically even winning his match against Roman Reigns, I feel like he could be the guy. What a win for him. I mean, think about that. He would have wins over Lesnar, Roman, Bobby, and Cena. Rollins is beating them all, man. I don't think he's got a win over Taker. But, man, he's beat basically everybody in WWE. Would like to see him get a win over Goldberg, too. Why not? Edge versus Rollins versus KO versus Lashley. A four-way, maybe. We saw a lot of Edge and Rollins stuff already. So I think a multi-man match, though, is possible. You could do a triple threat. I think maybe a triple threat might be better than a four-way, but we haven't had a four-way in a while for a title at WrestleMania. Last year was Daniel Bryan and Edge and Roman, but we haven't had anything too major. So I'd be okay with a four-way. Not sure if I'd do those specific four. I might move Edge to feud with AJ Styles and then do Rollins, KO, Lashley, and Big E. So I might agree with you more if we replaced Edge with Big E. Then that match would make a touch more sense, and it really feels like it. But, man, it sucks when you got Crown Jewel ahead of this, because with all of those contenders, when you think about Edge, when you think about Big E, Rollins, and Kevin Owens, all of those men are contenders for Lashley's title, right? So you could throw Lashley in the Elimination Chamber at Crown Jewel against all of them. How many people are normally in a chamber? 6, right? So you could do Edge, Rollins, Owens, Lashley, Big E, and AJ. There you go. There's your Raw 6. And you do that in the chamber, and you have Lashley retain the title. And then he goes into Mania. Or you could do the chamber match at Crown Jewel to determine who Lashley's challenger is. Because he might not have an opponent for Crown Jewel at all. He's probably going to have to face somebody. Maybe even Goldberg. Do you do that one again and you give Lashley his win back? I think Seth and Roman Reigns might run it back at Crown Jewel. I think Seth might get one more shot at Roman and then before WrestleMania, so that might pull him out of there. I don't know. At least that's the good news, is we're not totally sure where some of that's going to go. Ronda Rousey is on SmackDown now. Thank you, Zane. So that appears to be confirmed as we've been talking. Like I said, I'm pleasantly surprised with this development. Meltzer's report earlier this week had said that Ronda was going to be a SmackDown person. I just didn't see how that was possible if they were going to want to do Becky and Ronda. But if it's going to be Ronda and Charlotte, you know what? That's the right call. I really want to see Becky against Ronda one-on-one, but I don't think it's a necessity that's done right away. We could even get that done at Crown Jewel ahead, like I said, of WrestleMania. But if Ronda is going to stay on SmackDown and work with Charlotte, that means Becky and Bianca can be left to do what they need to do at WrestleMania. So that's real good news to me. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm very happy about their development. Yeah, Edge versus Styles is definitely a dream match, and it's probably a dream match for them both. I think both those guys probably want to work together. AJ's probably a guy that was on Edge's short list when he returned in terms of dudes he wanted to work with. And I'm sure AJ has always wanted to lock up with Edge. So, oh, wow. Rumor was Omos versus Lashley. Jesus, man. They can do that at Crown Jewel if they want. I don't care what they do at Crown Jewel. They can put Lashley in there with a fucking toaster. I don't care. But don't do that at WrestleMania. I don't care what they do in Saudi Arabia. Do not care. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, I can't watch Crown Jewel this year. It's the 19th of February, I believe. That's my girlfriend's 40th birthday. So we are going to be busy. So I will be missing this Crown Jewel. And you know what? I don't even care because I don't like those Saudi Arabia shows. And if I have a reason to not watch it, I'm going to definitely jump on that. So no Crown Jewel for me for this year. But I might come up and do a review the next day. But they could do that. They could do something first there in terms of Lashley maybe facing a guy like Omos or whatever. They can knock that out at Crown Jewel and then do something way more fun at WrestleMania. But anyway, I think that is going to do it for me. Got nothing really else to talk about tonight. We will be back here soon, maybe Monday night. After Raw, I'll do a review because we might get a lot of information on Monday Night Raw. Post-Rumble, Monday Night Raw, a lot of things might go down. So let's plan on a Raw review for Monday, but I reserve the right to cancel that depending on what my own personal life has going on. But that'll be my plan, at least for right now. Normally, we've been doing watch-alongs on Sundays. We are going to start that back up again next Sunday with a WrestleMania watch-along. I just have to decide which one. The reason we're not doing one tomorrow is because it's NFL Championship Sunday here in the States. Most people are going to be focused on those football games that determine the Super Bowl. So that's going to be going on here, so I'll be taking the day off from watch-alongs tomorrow to kick back and watch that. But we should be back up here Monday night after Raw to talk about whatever the hell's going on with Lashley and possibly Crown Jewel and who his future challengers are, and what Becky is going to do and all that stuff. So make sure you are here on Monday night. Have a great rest of your night, whatever you wind up doing on the tube. If you pass around and jump over to anybody else's channel to see what they got to say, have fun doing that. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night and the rest of your weekend. And I will catch you guys Monday night after Raw. Y'all take care. Peace.